Hey everyone, my name is Jake. I'm 26 years old, and I'm from Brazil. Just 5 months ago, I couldn't speak even a simple English sentence. Not even "how are you?" without stopping to think first. I was completely lost. Today, I want to share how I learned English in just 5 months. Without expensive classes, without going abroad, and without wasting time on boring methods. But this is not only my story. It's also your story, if you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or embarrassed because of your English. Keep watching because I used to be exactly where you are. And by the end of my journey, you'll know exactly how you can improve too. Let's start from the beginning, because my journey didn't begin with motivation. It began with a failure that completely changed my life. I had always dreamed of working for an international company. My dream job was to become a software engineer at a big tech firm. I loved coding and spent years trying to become the best. After countless late nights and hard work, I finally got an email that said, "Congratulations, you've been selected for an interview." Couldn't believe it. My dream was finally becoming real. I pictured myself working in a new country, earning a great salary, and meeting amazing people. But then came the interview, the moment that changed everything. When the call began, 3 interviewers appeared on the screen, all native English speakers. As soon as they started talking, I felt lost. Their words sounded too fast, like someone had pressed fast forward. The first question was, "Jake, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development?" I froze. I knew what I wanted to say, but my mouth wouldn't move. I finally managed to say, "Yes, I am software. I do coding many projects." "Good. I am very good." The silence that followed felt like a knife in my stomach. They smiled politely and said, "All right, Jake, thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I didn't get the job. Not because I lacked skill, but because I couldn't communicate. That day, I realized something powerful. English isn't just a language. It's a key. And I didn't have that key. I felt embarrassed, angry, and disappointed. For years, I told myself, I don't need English. I'll just be good at my work. But in that moment, I understood without English, my skills were invisible. That night, I made a decision. I would learn English, and I would learn it fast. Most people, when they decide to learn English, do the same thing first. They spend money on expensive courses. But I didn't do that. Why? Because I had already tried them before. And they didn't work. About a year earlier, I joined an online English class. The teacher gave me long vocabulary lists, grammar exercises, and boring worksheets. I memorized hundreds of words, but when it was time to speak, my mind went blank. After 3 months of studying, I still couldn't have a real conversation. That's when I realized something important. Classes don't make you fluent, practice does. So I decided to teach myself English in a new way, a way that actually works in real life. That's when I built my 5-month English system, the same one I'm sharing with you now, step by step. Spiral Calendar Part 1, the first 15 days. In the beginning, I made the same mistake most beginners do. I thought I needed more words. If I just learn 1,000 words, I'll be fluent, I told myself. But that was wrong. I already knew hundreds of words, yet I couldn't speak. So for the first 15 days, I made a new rule. No new vocabulary. Instead, I focused on using the words I already knew, correctly and confidently. Here's exactly what I did. Step 1, the survival sentences list. I sat down and thought, what do I really need to say every day? Then I wrote 50 short, useful sentences, things like, "Hi, how are you? Can you repeat that, please? I don't understand. I'm learning English. I need a coffee, please." Every morning, I read those 50 sentences out loud 10 times. At first, my tongue felt slow, and my pronunciation was messy. But after a few days, the words started to come out naturally. After 1 week, I could say them without thinking. Step 2. Talking to myself in English. This might sound strange, but it was one of the most powerful things I did. Whenever I was alone, in the shower, in the kitchen, walking, I spoke to myself in English. For example, I'm brushing my teeth. The water is cold. I'm cooking eggs. They smell good. At first, I felt silly. But soon, I realized this was my private classroom. No one was judging me, and my brain started thinking in English instead of translating from Portuguese. Step 3, the 5-sentence practice. Every day, I chose 5 sentences from movies or real conversations. But I didn't just read them. I copied them exactly. I repeated each one 10 times, matching the native speaker's speed, rhythm, and emotion. This improved my accent and helped me sound more natural. After 15 days, I noticed a big change. I no longer had to translate word by word in my head. I could build simple sentences automatically. For the first time, I felt confident speaking English, even to myself. But this was just the beginning, because after those first 15 days, the real transformation started. After 15 days of daily practice, something changed inside me. I could finally say short sentences without thinking too much, and I started to believe, maybe I can really do this. But I knew this was only the first step. I didn't just want to speak short phrases. I wanted to have real conversations, to understand native speakers without freezing, and to speak fluently without translating in my head. So I created a new plan, the next stage of my learning journey. This plan became the foundation of everything that followed. And if you use it, I promise you'll see faster results than you expect. Spiral Calendar Part 2. The real practice begins. I realized that my biggest problem wasn't vocabulary or grammar. It was speed. I knew the words, but when it was time to speak, my brain was too slow to connect them. I needed to make speaking feel natural, automatic, like a reflex. That's when I started using a method I now call the question-answer technique. Completely changed how I learned English. Step 1. The question-answer technique. Here's how it works. Ask yourself a simple question in English. Answer it immediately, don't think too much. Repeat the question and answer several times, adding new details each time. For example, question: what did you do today? Answer 1, I worked. Answer 2, I worked on my project. Answer 3, I worked on my project for 3 hours. Answer 4, I worked on my project for 3 hours, then took a short break and had coffee. Every time I added a little more information. This helped my brain form longer sentences naturally and think directly in English. Step 2. The breakfast example. Here's another one. Question: what did you eat for breakfast? Answer 1, I ate eggs. Answer 2, I ate eggs and bread. Answer 3, I ate eggs, bread, and fruit because I was hungry. Answer 4, I ate eggs, bread, and fruit because I was hungry and wanted a healthy breakfast. I did this every day for at least 30 minutes. At first, it felt strange talking to myself, but soon, my speaking became faster, smoother, and more confident. Step 3. Fixing my accent. The echo technique. Even when I started speaking more fluently, I still had a strong accent. Native speakers could understand me, but I didn't sound natural. That's when I discovered something amazing, the echo technique. Here's what I did. I listened to short clips from movies, YouTube videos, or podcasts. I paused after every sentence. I repeated each line exactly, same speed, same tone, same emotion. For example, I heard a movie line, I don't know what you're talking about. I paused and said it exactly the same way, again and again, until my voice started to sound similar to the actors. Another one from a podcast. It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk. I repeated it 10 times, copying the rhythm and emotion. After a few weeks, people started saying, wow, your English sounds really natural. And that's when I realized you don't need a native teacher to sound native. You just need smart imitation. By the second month, I had improved a lot. I could speak faster, think in English, and even sound more natural. But one problem still remained: my vocabulary. I realized that even though I was getting better at speaking, I often repeated the same simple words: good, nice, bad, happy. I needed more words to express deeper thoughts. But I also knew that memorizing long word lists didn't work. I had tried that before and forgot everything within days. So I needed a new way. That's when I discovered something powerful, what I now call the story method. Brain the story method, learn vocabulary naturally. Here's exactly how it worked. Every day I chose 5 new words. I created a short story using all of them together. I read that story out loud 10 times. I tried to use those words in real conversations during the day. For example, let's say my 5 words were excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story was, I was so excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday party. Simple, right? But that little story made me remember those words easily. Why? Because the human brain remembers stories, not lists. After doing this for 3 months, I had learned over 1,000 new words, without memorizing anything. Each word had meaning because it was connected to a story and emotion. Puzzle piece thinking in English, not translating. One of the biggest changes happened in my mind, not just my speaking. I stopped thinking in Portuguese first and then translating. That used to make me slow and unsure. Here's how I trained my brain to think in English directly. Describe everything around you quietly or in your mind. Example: the sky is blue. I see a man walking his dog. The coffee smells nice. Ask yourself small questions and answer in English. Example: what am I doing? I'm sitting in a chair, writing in my notebook. Write a short journal in English every night. First, I wrote things like, today I was tired. I went to work. I ate pizza. But soon, my sentences became longer and more natural. After a few weeks, I noticed something amazing. I was no longer translating. English words started coming to my mind naturally. 3 o'clock, the 2-hour rule. I made one simple rule for myself. Every day, I must speak English for at least 2 hours. No excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I talked to myself. If I didn't have time, I spoke while cooking or cleaning. And if I felt lazy, I reminded myself, English is my future. I can't give up now. That rule changed everything. Because success in English or in anything doesn't come from talent. It comes from consistency. By the end of the 3rd month, I could have full conversations in English. Not perfect ones, but real ones. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to speak anymore. By the time I reached my 3rd month of learning, I felt proud of my progress. But deep inside, I knew there was still one more wall to climb. I could speak English, yes, but sometimes I still made small grammar mistakes or I sounded a bit robotic. I didn't just want to speak English. I wanted to sound natural, just like native speakers. That's when I began what I call my final breakthrough phase. The stage that completely transformed not just my English, but my confidence too. Puzzle piece step 1. Learning from real English, not textbooks. I realized that grammar rules from school were too formal and didn't always match how people actually spoke. For example, in school I learned to say, I am learning English for 5 months. But native speakers said, I have been learning English for 5 months. That's when I discovered something important. Textbook English is different from real English. So, I started paying close attention to how native speakers built their sentences. Whenever I heard a sentence that sounded natural, I didn't just repeat it. I asked myself why it was said that way. I started keeping a small notebook for grammar and structure. For example, I wrote, on the bus but in the car. At night but in the morning. Whenever I got confused, I searched for examples online or listened to how native speakers used them in real life. Slowly, I began to understand not just what to say, but how to say it correctly. Memo step 2, writing a daily diary. Every night, I wrote about my day in English. First, it was simple. Today I went to work. I was tired. I ate pizza. But I wanted to improve. So I started reading short blogs, news articles, and even captions from English creators. I observed how they structured their sentences, then tried to copy that rhythm in my writing. Within weeks, my writing started to feel smoother and more natural. And my speaking improved too because writing is just silent speaking. Headphone Step 3. Shadowing, the ultimate practice. One of the best techniques I discovered was shadowing. I would put on my headphones, play a short video of a native speaker, and repeat every word immediately after them, trying to match their tone, rhythm, and energy. For at least 20 minutes every day, I shadowed voices from YouTube, podcasts, and movies. At first, it was challenging to keep up, but within a few weeks, my pronunciation improved dramatically. I started to sound smoother, more confident, and much more fluent. Step 4. Active listening, not just watching. When I watched movies in English, I stopped watching passively. Now I paused after every sentence, repeated it, and focused on pronunciation, tone, and emotion. I learned not only what people said, but how they said it. And slowly, my English began to sound more alive, more expressive. Speech balloon. Step 5. Overcoming fear, speaking to people. But there was still one big challenge left. Talking to real native speakers. That was my biggest fear. I used to think, what if they don't understand me? What if I freeze? What if I sound stupid? So I made a plan. I prepared 10 common conversation topics. Simple things like, how was your day? What's your favorite food? What do you do for work? I practiced answering them every day until the sentences felt natural. Then I joined an online speaking group where learners from different countries practiced English together. At first, I was nervous, but soon I realized everyone was learning, just like me. No one was perfect, and no one laughed at mistakes. That gave me confidence to keep going. Day by day, my fear started to fade. And one day, I found myself talking to a native speaker. Calmly, confidently, without panic. Felt incredible. That was the moment I knew I had broken through the wall. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't just learning English, I was living it. After months of practice, mistakes, and small victories, something inside me finally changed. One morning, I was speaking to myself in the mirror, something I had done every day since the beginning. But this time, it felt different. I wasn't hesitating. I wasn't translating. The words were just flowing. That's when I realized I had reached fluency. But I wanted to be sure. So I decided to test myself in the real world. Direct hit, the fluency test. I joined an online discussion group where people from different countries talked in English about daily life and world topics. At first, my heart was racing. I thought, what if I forget my words? What if I sound silly? But I reminded myself, I've worked too hard to doubt myself now. When it was my turn to speak, something amazing happened. The words came easily. I didn't have to stop or think. I just spoke, and I understood what others were saying without translating in my head. People listened, nodded, smiled, and even asked me follow-up questions. That was the exact moment I knew I had done it. After 5 months of consistent effort, I was finally fluent. Briefcase reaching the dream, the interview. Now that I was confident in English, I decided to face the moment that once broke me. I reapplied for the same company that had rejected me months before, my dream tech job in the US. But this time, I wasn't the same Jake who had once frozen in fear. I walked into the interview with confidence. The interviewer asked questions, and I answered clearly and naturally. No panic, no hesitation. I wasn't just speaking English, I was owning it. They smiled, took notes, and kept listening closely. I could tell this time they were impressed. Telephone receiver, the call that changed everything. A few days later, my phone rang. I picked it up, and the voice on the other side said, Jake, congratulations. You got the job. For a few seconds, I couldn't say anything. My eyes filled with tears. I had done it. The same company that once turned me down now wanted me. And the best part? My starting salary was $5,000 a month, more than I had ever earned before. The first thing I did was call my parents. Mom, Dad, I did it. My mother started crying. My father, a quiet man who rarely showed emotion, simply said, "We always knew you could." At that moment, I realized something powerful. I hadn't just achieved my dream for myself. I had done it for them too, for their sacrifices, their support, and their belief in me when I didn't believe in myself. Wrapped gift giving back. With my first salary, I bought my father a beautiful watch, something he had always wanted but never bought. And for my mother, I bought a gold necklace she had once admired in a shop window. When I gave them the gifts, they both said, "You didn't have to do this." But I smiled and said, "Yes, I did. This is my way of saying thank you." In that moment, I realized something important. Every late night, every frustration, every moment I wanted to quit, it was all worth it. Glowing star, the key lessons. After 5 months, I wasn't just fluent in English. I was a different person. Stronger, more confident, and more disciplined. Here are the biggest lessons I learned, the same ones that can help you reach fluency too. Mindset is everything. The biggest mistake is believing you can't do it. I used to think English was too hard. But the day I started saying, "I can learn this," everything changed. Confidence creates results. Surround yourself with English. I changed my phone to English, watched only English content, and followed English creators online. Even if I didn't understand everything, my brain was learning every moment. Speak without fear. Don't wait to be perfect. Perfection comes after practice. I spoke to strangers, shopkeepers, and even to myself. Every mistake made me better. Active listening and shadowing. I didn't just hear English, I repeated it. I shadowed native speakers daily. That's how my accent and rhythm improved. Learn words in context. Don't memorize lists. Learn phrases and short stories. That's how you remember words naturally. Grammar through use, not rules. I stopped memorizing grammar charts. I learned by speaking, listening, and correcting myself in real situations. Consistency beats perfection. Some days I studied for hours, some days for 10 minutes, but I never stopped. Consistency builds fluency. Now, when I look back at the person I was, the one who failed that first interview, I don't feel shame anymore. I feel gratitude, because that failure gave me the reason to change. So if you're learning English and you feel stuck, I want you to remember this. Backhand index pointing right, you don't need to be perfect. Backhand index pointing right, you just need to start. Speak, listen, make mistakes, and keep going. Because the pain of discipline lasts only for a short time, but the pain of regret can last forever. Choose discipline. Choose growth. Choose your future. Your English journey starts now, and I'll be with you every step of the way. When I look back now, it almost feels like a different life. The boy who couldn't speak one full English sentence, who failed his first interview, who doubted himself every single day. That version of me was scared, insecure, and unsure if he would ever be good enough. But here I am, proof that change is possible. I learned something powerful through this journey. Fluency isn't about knowing every word. It's about never giving up. Seedling, the real secret of learning English. So many people ask me, "Jake, how did you really do it? What's the secret?" And my answer is simple. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment, and I started. I made mistakes every single day. Sometimes I felt embarrassed. Sometimes I didn't feel motivated, but I kept going. And that's what made the difference. English didn't just change my job. It changed me. It taught me patience, confidence, and discipline. It taught me that the biggest limits we have are the ones we build in our own minds. Light bulb, what you can learn from my story. If you're watching this and thinking, "I'll never speak English fluently," I want you to stop that thought right now. Because if I, a regular guy from Brazil, could go from 0 to fluency in 5 months, then you can too. You don't need expensive teachers. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You just need one thing: Commitment. If you speak for 10 minutes today, make it 15 tomorrow. If you learn 5 new phrases this week, use them every day until they stick. And when you make mistakes, smile and move forward. Because mistakes mean progress. Rocket, your English journey starts now. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, speaking English confidently, communicating with anyone you want, opening doors that were once closed. It's possible. Not for other people, for you. So today, make a promise to yourself, to listen, to speak, to practice, and to never quit. Because English is not just a language. It's a bridge to new opportunities, new people, and a new version of you. Final words. If my story inspired you, then remember this message. The pain of effort lasts for a moment, but the pain of regret can last a lifetime. So choose effort, choose growth, choose your future. Start today. Your journey to English fluency begins right now. And I'll be right here, cheering for you, every step of the way.